Samson, whose name literally translates to sunshine, was raised as a Nazarene, prohibiting him from drinking alcohol or cutting his hair. In this extraordinary tale, a man grapples with relationships, experiencing a failed marriage before encountering a nameless prostitute and eventually joining forces with his mistress, Delilah. Despite these twists, many ponder the extent of Samson's strength. Let's explore 5 instances that highlight his formidable power. Lion encounter. Samson, fueled by his determination to marry a Philistine woman, faced off with a lion, ultimately slaying it with his bare hands. These captivating stories not only reveal Samson's physical prowess, but also weave a narrative of his complex relationships. Stay tuned for more intriguing insights into the life of this extraordinary character. Samson went back to his father and mother, expressing his desire to marry a woman from Timnah, one of the daughters of the Philistines. Despite his parents' reservations about choosing a wife from the uncircumcised Philistines, Samson insisted, believing she was the right match. Unbeknownst to his parents, Samson's inclination was guided by the Lord, seeking an opportunity against the Philistines who were ruling over Israel at that time. Journeying to Timnah with his parents, Samson encountered a young lion in the vineyards. Fueled by the Spirit of the Lord, he tore the lion apart with his bare hands, a feat he kept secret from his father and mother. Later, Samson went to talk to the woman he intended to marry, finding her pleasing. On his return to take her, he noticed the lion's carcass, discovering a swarm of bees and honey inside. Samson scooped out the honey, casually eating as he walked. When he shared the honey with his father and mother, he kept the source a secret. In Judges chapter 14, preparations for a grand wedding feast in Timnah were underway. Samson, full of intrigue, presented a riddle to his 30 companions. The challenge was clear: solve the riddle and receive a full outfit, or fail and provide him with 30 linen garments and 30 changes of clothing. The riddle itself posed a mystery. Out of the eater came something to eat, and out of the strong came something. Stay tuned as we delve into the unfolding drama of Samson's riddle and its consequences. Indeed, the sweet riddle referred to Samson's victory over the lion and the discovery of honey in its carcass. Now onto the second demonstration of Samson's strength. After the Philistines failed to unravel the riddle, they resorted to threatening Samson's wife to extract the answer. In tears, she confronted Samson during the feast, lamenting that he hadn't shared the riddle's solution even with her. Persistently pressed, Samson finally revealed the answer on the 7th day. This revelation led to a chain of events where the Philistines learned the secret. Fueled by anger, Samson, driven by the Spirit of the Lord, went to Ashkelon, where he killed 30 men. The unfolding tale continues with Samson's bold actions against his adversaries. As a consequence of the Philistines solving the riddle, Samson, in a fit of anger, fulfilled his promise and provided the outfits to those who had guessed correctly. Consumed by frustration, he left for his father's house on the 7th day when the marriage was supposed to be consummated. Upon his return home, Samson discovered that his wife had been given to his best man, marking a twist in the story. Moving on to the third showcase of Samson's might, he captured an astonishing 150 pairs of foxes. In a later episode, during the wheat harvest, Samson sought reconciliation with his wife, presenting a young goat as a gift. However, her father, mistakenly believing Samson hated her, had given her to another man. The narrative takes an unexpected turn as Samson faces new challenges in his relationships. In his determination to harm the Philistines, Samson devised a strategic plan. He caught 300 foxes, attaching torches between each pair of tails. Releasing the foxes into the Philistines' standing grain, Samson set ablaze the heap of sheaves, vineyards, and olive groves, creating chaos. The enraged Philistines, discovering Samson's retaliation, sought revenge. Blaming him for the destruction, they came up and burned both Samson's wife and her father with fire, escalating the conflict. Now, for the 4th display of Samson's strength, he single-handedly slew 1,000 men, using only the jawbone of a donkey. The narrative intensifies as Samson's actions trigger a series of violent reactions from the Philistines. Violence begets more violence, as the Philistines retaliated by burning Samson's wife and her father. Fleeing from the enraged Philistines, Samson faced a shocking betrayal from the men of Judah. Fearful of their rulers, they agreed to tie Samson securely with ropes, and hand him over to the enemy. In a disheartening turn, Samson's own people had become vassals, choosing betrayal over loyalty to their countrymen. The depth of their submission to the oppressors unfolds, highlighting a stark contrast to standing by Samson for their freedom. Upon reaching Lehi, the Philistines confronted Samson. The Spirit of the Lord empowered him, causing the ropes on his arms to be as flimsy as burned flax linen. Samson, armed with a fresh jawbone of a donkey, struck down 1,000 men. The tale unfolds with Samson's unwavering strength against both external foes and internal betrayals. With the jawbone of a donkey, Samson proclaimed, "Heaps upon heaps with the jawbone of a donkey, I have struck down 1,000 men." After uttering these words, he threw the jawbone aside and named the place Ramoth Lehi, meaning the hill of the jawbone. In Judges chapter 15, verse 16, there's a play on words, suggesting Samson's use of the jawbone was a powerful assault on his assailants. Despite the jawbone being an unclean part of a dead animal, its use in this victory highlighted the supernatural aspect of the triumph, granted by God through unconventional means. Now, for the fifth demonstration of Samson's extraordinary strength, he carried the city gates for nearly 40 miles. This incredible feat, coupled with the unusual means of his victories, further emphasizes the divine intervention in Samson's actions. The saga continues, exploring both the physical and symbolic dimensions of Samson's remarkable exploits. In the twilight of his tenure, the citizens of Gaza believed they had finally captured Samson, their adversary. However, at midnight, Samson arose, astonishingly carrying off the city gates and 2 gateposts to the top of a hill facing Hebron, a staggering distance of nearly 40 miles. Later in his journey, Samson fell in love with Delilah, a Philistine woman. Discovering this, the Philistine lords sought to exploit Samson's weakness by offering Delilah a reward to uncover the secret of his great strength. On her first attempt, Samson mentioned that if bound with 7 fresh bowstrings, he would become weak. Delilah, tying him with 7 new bowstrings, expected his vulnerability, but Samson effortlessly snapped the cords. For the 6th display of Samson's might, he delivered a decisive blow by destroying the temple of Dagon and slaying 3,000 people. The epic saga unfolds, revealing the complexity of Samson's character and the extraordinary events that shaped his legacy. Delilah persisted in her attempts to uncover Samson's weakness. On the 2nd try, she bound him with new ropes, cautioning him about the approaching Philistines. Yet, once again, Samson effortlessly shattered the bonds. Undeterred, Samson continued to toy with danger, suggesting to Delilah that if she wove the 7 locks of his hair into the web of the loom, he would be rendered helpless. He left with the baton and the web, only to be awakened by Delilah's warning of the imminent Philistine threat. Finally succumbing to Delilah's pressure, Samson revealed the true secret of his strength: his long hair, an outward symbol of his Nazirite status and his special connection with God. It was not the hair itself, but his relationship with God that granted him strength. Delilah, realizing she had discovered his vulnerability, summoned the Philistines. While Samson slept on her knees, one of them shaved his head and his strength departed. As Mackintosh observes, Delilah's lap became the scene of Samson's downfall, marking a pivotal moment in the narrative. The story takes a dramatic turn as Samson faces the consequences of revealing his true source of strength. The heart of Samson, which 1,000 Philistines could not conquer, succumbed to the ensnaring influence of a single woman. When Samson awoke, he tried to summon his strength, unaware that the Lord had departed from him. As a consequence, the Philistines blinded Samson and imprisoned him in Gaza, compelling him to grind grain. This triple degradation is often described as the binding, blinding, grinding bondage of sin. However, amidst this suffering, Samson's hair gradually began to grow back. During a grand sacrifice in honor of their god Dagon, the Philistine lords presented Samson as an example of their god's triumph. Forced to entertain them with his feats, Samson, in a final act of strength, took hold of the temple's 2 middle pillars, prayed to the Lord, and pushed the pillars down, demolishing the structure. In his death, Samson slew more people, leaving a dramatic and impactful conclusion to his complex tale. Experienced an unnecessary tragedy due to his fatal cohorts, disobedience, defeat, disgrace, and destruction. Despite the Lord's spirit upon him, Samson's life was ultimately controlled by his sexual desires, leading to his downfall. While Samson displayed bravery in the face of men and possessed supernatural strength, his weakness surfaced in his interactions with women. The story of Samson and Delilah serves as a poignant lesson, highlighting the importance of understanding and managing one's desires, even for those born with incredible potential. Samson's tale reminds us of the complexities within human nature and the need for wisdom and self-discipline to avoid unnecessary tragedies. Samson's tragic end serves as a powerful lesson about the consequences of sin. His story reveals that spiritual blindness can precede physical consequences, emphasizing the insidious nature of sin's influence. The allure of sin, especially sexual sin, can blind and numb us, leading to entanglement. The progression of sin is portrayed vividly. It binds, blinds, and finally grinds away at us slowly and inexorably. Sin often takes us further than we intend, keeps us longer than we plan, and costs us more than we expect. The caution to, above all else, guard your heart, for it is the wellspring of life, becomes a crucial reminder in navigating life's challenges. Moreover, Samson's vengeful nature and tendency to pout when things didn't go his way illustrate the destructive impact of unchecked emotions. His story underscores the importance of emotional maturity and self-control in avoiding the pitfalls of revenge and resentment. The lessons from Samson's life resonate as timeless wisdom for navigating the complexities of human nature and the consequences of our actions. Samson's inclination towards revenge, expressed in his references to having a right to get even, echoes the mindset of the Philistines and, unfortunately, mirrors aspects of today's worldview. This perspective contradicts Christ's teachings and emphasizes the enduring nature of certain human tendencies. Despite Samson's flaws, his return to God before his demise highlights the possibility of redemption and spiritual transformation. In the grand scheme of events, Samson's death significantly hindered the oppressive actions of the Philistines. His destruction of the Dagon temple played a pivotal role in the defeat of the Philistines at Mitzvah by Samuel and the children of Israel, approximately 100 years later. The narrative in 1 Samuel chapter 7 verses 7-14 portrays the Philistine ruler's concern upon learning of Israel's gathering at Mitzvah. Faced with the advancing Philistine army, the Israelites turned to Samuel, urging him to plead with the Lord for deliverance. The events following Samson's death contributed to the eventual victory of the Israelites against their oppressors. In a time of crisis, Samuel, recognizing the impending threat of the Philistines, took a young lamb and offered it as a whole burnt offering to the Lord. He fervently pleaded for God's help, and the Lord responded with a mighty voice of thunder from heaven. As Samuel sacrificed, the Philistines arrived to attack Israel, but the divine intervention caused confusion among the Philistines. The men of Israel, emboldened by this turn of events, chased the Philistines from Mitzvah to a location below Bethgar, defeating them along the way. Samuel, marking this significant victory, placed a large stone between the towns of Mitzpah and Yeshana, naming it Ebenezer, which means the stone of help. He declared, "Up to this point the Lord has helped us." The Philistines were subdued, refraining from invading Israel for some time. Throughout Samuel's lifetime, the Lord's powerful hand remained raised against the Philistines. The Israelite villages near Ekron and Gath, captured by the Philistines, were restored to Israel, along with the territory taken by the Philistines. As a result, peace prevailed between Israel and the Amorites in those days. In the end, God recognized Samson as a man of faith, evident in his inclusion in the Hall of Faith. When exploring the names in this hall, it becomes evident that none were perfect. Despite Samson's incredible strength, it was derived from God, and more importantly, Samson allowed God to use him. The principle of drawing close to God with a contrite heart, as mentioned in James chapter 4 verse 8, Amplified Bible, underscores the willingness of God to meet us where we are and lead us wherever He desires if we let Him. This reflects the essence of faith, a humble and open-hearted surrender to God's guidance.